What I really love doing is telling interesting stories about people who have looked behind the curtain of life. Click the bell to get more updates and give these stories a thumbs up if any of them speak to you. Helping this group grow is easy to do in this way. Let's read the news stories of the day while curled up in your best chair and sipping a hot mug of tea or coffee. It was kind of a coincidence that I found your channel through an email from a friend that made me think of a sad experience from the past. After we talked about how our situations were similar and different, she suggested that I keep looking into it. As I listened to that first link and the ones that came after it, I saw how hearing other people talk about their lives made mine seem more real. It made me feel better to know I wasn't the only one going through this. I had been thinking about this for a while, knowing that other people had also gone close to the edge. Some trusted people, like the friend who sent you the link, were the only ones I talked to about it. I thought it was all a dream. It took place right after I turned 30. I couldn't ask close family members to help me plan the funeral because I was still trying to come to terms with the sudden death of my mother. When I started planning the funeral, I wasn't ready at all and was under a lot of stress. I had been working nonstop for several days, and when I finally fell asleep, I was sad and worried about money. That same night, my chest hurt really badly all of a sudden. I tried to get some medicine, but I passed out instead. When I woke up, I was floating above my body that was asleep. Even though it looked like it was in a lot of pain, I didn't feel it. I understood all of a sudden that our bodies are like clothes that we get rid of when we no longer need them. This insight made it seem like death is unavoidable. There was a tunnel above the opening that I felt pulled towards. I wasn't sure if I was being pulled inside or in. Before me, other routes joined together like a network of highways that were all linked. Around a fairway light, I saw bright spheres that looked like people. I had the deepest understanding of all of human history, complex science, hard maths, and other mysteries at that time, but I still didn't know where it came from. It was clear that the bright light was my real home, the place I left behind when I chose to come to Earth. As I walked back towards it, all of my earthly feelings, envy, hate, and anger, went away. Even the sadness I felt when my mother died went away. All of these feelings turned into love. When I got to the light source, it wasn't just light, it was infinity itself. Love came pouring through me like a never-ending stream. I thought I had reached the peak of my love, but it seemed to keep coming back. The light changed quickly, making it impossible to know how many minutes or thousands of years had passed. Time was no longer important. The light was more than just a source. It was a representation of that which will never stop. As I became one with the radiant spirit, what made me unique disappeared into a shared awareness. I could feel a huge number of other light spheres going through the same change. Someone pulled me out of the light and into a huge, clean white area that didn't have any walls, ceilings, doors, or windows. It was impossible to say where it stopped or began. The shining source, my real home, was all I wanted to go back to, because the room felt like it would never end. I had no idea how long I would be locked up. There wasn't any hunger or thirst. There was just a strong sense of being alive. I killed time by looking for a border that I couldn't find and then doing math questions for hours on end to try to understand everything. At that very moment, a beautiful figure 9 feet tall appeared in front of me. She wore a flowing white dress with a golden belt around her waist. He said hello to me with a nearly harmless "you again." I wasn't ready for what he said. "What do you mean, me again?" I asked a question. "You chose to come back to Earth," he said. "This place is familiar to you." Because I was so confused, I swore I had never had an experience like that before. Why did I choose to come to this world? I thought about how I was made and who I am now. Despite this, the angel kept telling me that I had already seen this world. "Perhaps you chose to suppress your memories from your previous visit," he told me. Still confused, I asked again, "But why would I choose to return?" "It's normal for souls on their way to Earth to forget the first time they met. If a soul comes back to Earth without completing its mission, it decides if it wants to bring memories of this world with it when it reincarnates as a body, since Earth has the most difficult challenges." I kept arguing, but that still doesn't explain why I chose to come back. When I put pressure on the angel, he showed me a signed document that laid out my plans for this life. I could tell as I read the page that I hadn't done all of the assignments. When I held the piece of paper in my hands, vague thoughts of my wish to travel on Earth came back to me. I thought that life's problems would be easier to deal with if I didn't have to be reminded of my true home all the time. It was a lot like being in the military in that winning was a badge of pride, but going to war was never a good idea. Being able to reach their physical goals was another sign that they had gotten past their biggest problems. I suddenly felt more determined and longed for another chance to travel the world. This time, I chose to hold on to my memories of home. Even though I couldn't remember every secret about the world, I still believed in the radiant light, and that I was an important part of it. When I woke up on the floor, I felt like my body and soul were very far apart. The lung pains were gone, but I was 3 times as sad as before. Not only did I miss my mom, but I also missed the warm kiss of the light. I could still eat, sleep, and do other regular things, but I was falling deeper into sadness than I had ever felt before. No one knows how long this dark time lasted, but it started to fade over time. I began to think that maybe this whole thing was just a dream and I would never really get to the afterlife. It's been years since I told my story to friends. They've reacted in different ways, from assuming it was just a dream to suggesting it had something to do with a head injury. I went to your station because one of my friends wouldn't give up on the idea that it was a near-death experience. Being sure that what I saw was real gives me relief now that my mother has gone to a better place. Thinking about my path, I wish I had done a review of my life in the next life. It would have helped me see what I needed to do here on Earth in a new way. I know what I want to do, but I don't want to tell everyone about these personal problems because they are problems I should deal with on my own. It's a long email, but I tried to be as clear as I could. You should know that the conversation with the angel was telepathic, which is something I forgot to say. It was so long ago that I might not remember everything that happened, which makes things even worse. Please keep in mind that this story is just a guess. Jay, I hope everything goes well for you and your family. This is the end of the story for today. You are welcome to leave a comment with your thoughts. Have a great time and stay safe until next time.